So, childhood to now, what's been the journey?
Yeah, so from a young age, I've kind of always been a very outdoorsy, adventurous child, quite a rebellious child, I think. Like school for me was, I love school, I love the social elements of school and the activities, but I've always been really hard to focus on one thing. So yeah, my childhood was spent pretty much always outdoors, like physical activities. I loved building tree houses, doing climbing trees, doing loads of adventurous stuff with my mates. I wasn't one to sit at home, play video games and stuff like that. I used to take apart, when I was really young, I used to take apart motorbikes and lawnmowers and put them back together for the sake of it. So I had I think a lot of my friends thought I was probably a bit weird, my interests, but yeah, it's quite an adventurous one.
So you said a minute ago that you couldn't sit still, which I can totally relate to. I have ADHD and I'm the worst. I can't. Yeah. I can hyper focus on something, but my mind is always doing everything else. Do you think part of that as a personality trait is what's led you to starting your own business?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, when I went to uni and dropped out because I was literally hating it. I couldn't sit inside lectures and getting taught something. It was just not for me. I was so struggling to sit still. And when you run your own business, you don't have to just focus on one thing. You can spread yourself out, do different things all the time, which completely relates to me. So yeah, that's a big personality trait that I had, which kind of led me into that path of entrepreneurialism.
So let's go back to Henry as a kid.
Yeah.
So what was your childhood like? Because the reason I ask this, and I always try and find a different question to ask at the beginning of these podcasts, but they're always the same. I'm always right, you were born here and you've ended up here, and what's that journey been like? Do you think you always wanted to run your own business, or has it been a super organic growth journey for you?
To be fair, so I wanted to I didn't even contemplate running my own business as a young boy. It was all just I loved watching racing and stuff, so I was kind of wanted to be involved in that, or professional sports player most kids do want to be. But yeah, I was obsessed with engines and cars and motorbikes and things like that. So that was kind of my childhood dreams. The whole entrepreneurialism thing was quite random, which we'll come on to later. But yeah, it was a very random occurrence. But then it kind of all when it did happen, I kind of realised actually this is really suited to me. And I looked at my uncle, who's a really successful entrepreneur, and I realised maybe this is the right path for me.
You said something a minute ago about you as a kid. You had all these kind of niche interests, and other people thought you were weird. Why do you think that?
Well, as a kid, I think most people, I don't know, you go around to your mate's house and play video games or something. I was very much not into that sort of stuff. I always wanted to go out and just do dig trenches or build literally tree houses, and a lot of my mates they just weren't used to that, and whenever I'd go around to their houses it was all just completely different. So I'm still a bit different now. I think that's a good thing though, but yeah, I've always had very different interests in my free time. So yeah, but I think again although I used to think it was a bad thing, I've realised now it's actually probably quite a good thing. You don't want to be the same as everyone else. You want to be a bit different. I think that's helped me get to where I am today.
How?
Well, it's just if I was everyone else, or not that it's a bad thing, I probably would have gone down the route of staying at uni, getting a job which probably I wouldn't have enjoyed, because I thought that was the norm. But because I always think outside the norm, I've put myself in a different career path and done something that's completely different. And when I was 19 when I started paddling ice, so that was quite an alien thing, and a lot of my friends I know would not want to do something like that, drop out of uni and just do something completely random.
So let's talk about the uni thing.
Yeah.
Because I did not want to go to university.
Yeah.
The idea of similar to you, what you said you enjoyed, I hated school.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the people I went to school with. I was always made to feel stupid because I would ask why, and of course at school you're kind of trained to what to think, not how to think. And I was the opposite. I was so why do we have to do it that way? Why can't we do it this way? And obviously that irritated teachers, so I was always in detention for talking too much and talking back and all the things. And so I just didn't enjoy it. I feel like as an adult, I look back and I don't think school raises successful adults. I think it raises people to conform to the lifestyle that you just mentioned there. You know, leave school, go to university, get a 25 grand a year job and work your way up and then die. Like that's what school trains you to do. I did not want that. So when it came to go to university, I was like, oh, every part of my body did not want to do that, but I did it because my parents wanted me to do it. So what was your first of all, why did you even go to uni? And why did you drop out?
I went to uni probably because the same reason everyone else. It's like the normal thing to do. It's like how society just like raises you, like it's the normal thing. You leave college, you go to uni, and you feel like you have to do that almost because you don't know any different at that age. Like if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have done it, but at that age you think I must go to uni. Like if I don't do that, I'm a failure. So that's probably one of the big reasons I went to uni, just because in my head that was like there was no like you have to go to uni. I was also interested in becoming a engineer of some sort, Formula 1 or something. But then I went to uni, and like looking back at it now, it was, to be honest, a waste of time for me. For some people, I get it. Like if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a particular profession, 100% go to uni. But for like so many people, and so many people that I went to uni with, like it is definitely like it's good for life lessons. But the actual main reason you go into uni, I think it was a complete waste of time.
Do you regret it?
No, because I don't regret it, because I reckon I might not be here today if I didn't go to uni. Maybe it was like meant to be. Like I don't know. I might not have gone to Thailand at that same time or found it. And also I learned like life experiences. I had so much fun there. Like I was a young guy going to uni. It was a lot of fun. I regret maybe like wasting the time in the lectures that meant absolutely nothing to me, learning about like things that I would never use in real life. But yeah. Do
you think so I've quite strong views about education and about a lot of things, but education and university mainly. Like I feel like it's about a decade out of date.
Yeah.
There's nothing that university can't teach you that an internship couldn't teach you. A 10x, and you can ask Dee, who's in the room right now. Like she was an intern for me originally, and I'm sure she doesn't mind me saying she learned more from interning with me than she did from her degree. So with that in mind, like why do you think we still push this idea on people that is the path they have to take? Because to me it doesn't make any sense. You're not raising successful adults by forcing people through an education system that's completely outdated.
It's completely, as I said, it's completely outdated. I think, I'm really hoping within the next, in my future, we're going to see some massive changes happening, whether it's a completely new type of university, which is much more like practical, like physical, real life. Because it's not real life. Like, I honestly learned more in the first day of starting Pan and Ice than I did in my whole 2 years of university, like without doubt. And I really think that's the case for most people. Like most people that come for internships with me, or come work experience, they always tell me, Henry, I've literally learned like this is not what I'm getting. They go to uni to do, say, an events management course, and they come work with me at events, and like this is actually what events should be like. Like why am I learning about like stuff I'm never going to use? Like why we should be doing this. So I just think it is massively outdated, and I'm hoping, eventually some people are going to, break the mold a bit, put in a new type of, school, university, because it needs to happen. Like there's so many people that won't even get to see their potential of what they could potentially be, because they're just so used to going in the norm. Their parents tell them go to school, go to university. That's all they know. But there'd be so many more creative people, like amazing people, people like Elon Musk and stuff like that, if there was another type of education system out there. You
speak about Elon Musk. He's just recently launched his own school, right?
Yeah, he has. Well, I think I used to watch loads of videos. I think he's had like his child or children, they've always had their own schooling method, which was completely practical. Like, I remember him talking about it, which is, it's brilliant. Like, they were literally taking apart car engines, and like, because you'd never learn that in university, you just learn about the maths. So he was actually practically put it into practice with them.
So his whole, as far as I understand it, his entire thesis of how he works and how he teaches people is all based on the first principles. So it's like working it all the way back to its foundations and then figuring out a better way of building it. Like SpaceX is a really good example of that. In practical terms, though, how do you think school generally, university, college, like whatever you want to kind of go at it, what is the like modern alternative to that? Because let's be real, like I'm 31, so when I left university I left with 30 grand worth of debt. My counterparts now will be leaving with like 50, 60, 70
Yeah.
grand worth of debt. So how do we make that worth their while? Because I totally agree with you. I think working in a startup specifically is a real-time MBA. So why would you want it? So it's a business, right? University is a business. So how are you going to attract customers?
I mean, I think changing the whole university system might be a way to do that, but maybe it's more about schools being more educated in entrepreneurialism, and like instead of like saying you've got to go to university, it's now offsetted with the fact like, you know, they need to start pointing out all the qualities of actually going into real life work from like school, rather than like, because at the moment it's so focused on that's the normal path, you know, it's what everyone does, and when you're young you don't know any different, you believe what your school's saying, and your parents are saying. It's about educating the schools, I think, and like letting them know like these people are actually learning more when they come into the real life scenarios. So it might not even be, you know, redeveloping university. It might be just eventually scrapping the idea altogether for a lot of people. Again, some people I think it is useful if you want to be like, you know, a doctor or something, fair play, but then most people go to university without really knowing what they want to do in the future.
It's so true, right? You look at GCSEs or A levels or anything like, I don't know what the American equivalent is it GD something? But it's like a very similar model.
No idea.
But the way that we kind of educate people is like, here's a bunch of information, now go into the world and implement it. But actually my kind of whole view in it is university shouldn't be kind of a 3 to 5 year block situation. It should be something that you do throughout the course of your life, and you keep learning continually, almost every year if you can. And I think that's where a lot of people get outdated in their careers and they get stagnant and they lose their purpose and all those things. It's because they're not constantly learning. And it's why we, you know, millennials and Gen Z typically will move jobs every year, because they stagnate. So if you're constantly learning and you're constantly being challenged, not only will you benefit your career because you're, you know, ahead of everything, but you're going to benefit the wider economy as well, because businesses will perform better, they'll hold their talent longer, all those things. So back to university, I'm going to pick a hole in this a little bit more, because I love that you dropped out so much.
Yeah,
like, I wish I had the balls at 19, 20 to be like, fuck you, mum, I'm leaving school, I hate this. Because I hated it. I would go in, I vividly remember my final year of university. It was like the only year that we didn't have to be in every day, because you're writing a dissertation and blah, blah, blah. I went into one lecture the entire year. And that entire year I worked full time. I did 4 internships. I worked in a nightclub at night to like pay my own. I was already like renting my own apartment in Shepherd's Bush, living my best life. Like I basically was the opposite of a university student, because I hated every second of being there. Classrooms bored me. I hated the people that were there. It was just, it was awful. So what was the minute for you where you were like, this is bullshit, I'm done, bye?
I mean, it was pretty much as soon as I went to second year. I mean, I was doing a pretty full-on course. I was doing mechanical engineering. I don't really know how I got into do that course, because I'm not actually that book smart. I think I probably just cheated my way in probably somehow. But yeah, it was for
lawyers.
Yeah,
that was a joke.
No. Well, it didn't mean anything anyway. I didn't get a job from it. But yeah, it was me, like when I went into the classroom and stuff, it was the people like I was around, I noticed like I was completely different again, and I was like, I'm not actually resonating with these people. Like they're loving going to these lectures and learning about maths and algebra and stuff, and I'm just like, this is just not interesting for me. Like, and then what happened? I think I started listening to podcasts and watching like YouTube videos and just like entrepreneurs, and like I became like quite fascinated by it at uni, and then I started reading books, and then it very quickly, like this whole like idea of being an entrepreneur, or like not going to uni and doing your own thing, like it was like really interesting me. And I also think that paired with the fact that I wasn't enjoying the academic side of uni, it was kind of like, wow, because even if I didn't find Pan and Ice, I actually do think I would have dropped out. Pan and Ice was just the tipping point. But yeah, like it was just, I was loving the social life, like it probably a bit too much. I didn't really go to many lectures at the end. I kind of like gave up on the idea of uni then. But yeah, it was just so boring, and like I just knew like, why am I learning this? I'm never going to use this in real life. Like I want to be out there now making money, you know, learning, making mistakes, doing things fun.
You keep kind of coming back, like all the questions that we're going through and like all the stories we're going, you keep kind of going back to this thing of like not fitting in. Have you always felt like that?
I've always, like, not in a like, I'm always a bit different. Like if you ask my friends, like they'll probably say I'm a little bit weird, a little bit quirky. But I mean, like always been like that. I used to not like that, but I now, from educating myself, looking at entrepreneurs, like again, like people like Elon Musk, all these like founder of Apple, I can't remember what his name was. Steve Jobs, there we go, yeah. Like he was, if you watched his movie, like I now like resonate with that, and I actually like almost appreciate it within myself. Like I think, I don't want to be like everyone else. You need to be a bit quirky, you need to be a bit different, you need to think differently. So yeah, no, I think, but yeah, I have. If I ask all of my friends, family, I'm by no means normal.
So you say that normal, right?
Yeah.
Like, so how do you embrace that? How do you embrace yourself? Because it's so hard. Like, I can totally get what you're saying. Like, I hit like 26 or 27 or whatever, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm pretty comfortable with who I am. Fuck you. Like, I'm great. I'm achieving what I wanted to achieve. And it was kind of this like light switch moment that came on in my head where I all of a sudden felt super comfortable in who, and I don't mind now that people think I'm weird or I'm loud or I'm this or I'm that, like, because I'm 100% okay with the consequences of being myself.
Yeah.
But as a young woman, total opposite. I was absolutely obsessed with looking a certain way,
following the crowd.
Yeah. So how did you overcome that? Because I imagine it's very similar for guys too, and everyone has that. I think anyway, most people, unless you're kind of some superhuman, have that sort of intrinsic desire to please others and fit in.
100%.
And so how did you overcome that? Because you're super confident now. And
I've only overcome it, I think, quite recently, probably in the last few years. As I said before that, it was always trying to like fight my own battles with myself, trying to like fit in, say things that are normal, like basically not being myself in certain situations to try, fit in and not be called weird or something like that, or get people to laugh at me. But I think over time it's about, it's like, looking at all these other amazing founders and people that are super successful, you really realise that a lot of the time they are very different. And I've read loads of books and it always says, people, there's one, I can't remember who it was, a really successful entrepreneur anyway, was like, his friends would always ask him, how have you done so well in life? And he'd reply going, all those times you thought I was weird or being like annoying, like sacrificing our friendship group, that's how, like, because I've been different and I've done things completely different to everyone else. So that's the way I see it now. I kind of like, I take it on board and like accept you've just literally got to be different. Never follow a crowd. That's what I always try doing my decision making. I try not do the safe option and do what's technically right. I try test myself, test the boundaries, because that's how you like adapt and grow. If you every day you just work along the in between the lines and do the right thing and all the normal things, you're not really going to grow that much or test yourself.
I know I keep like picking into this too much, but I think it's really interesting. You've mentioned quite a few times that people used to laugh at you and like call you weird. Did you ever feel like your weirdness or uniqueness like put you on the back? Like, did you ever feel like bullied by other people or picked on?
When I was very young, I think, because again, then you don't know any different. Like, I probably thought I was a bit bullied a bit at school when this is back in primary school now. People, I was definitely different to the other kids, and they always used to, I would, when people get like picked to do like games or something, you pick your partner. Like, I was quite often left out of that sometimes, or there'd be like friendship, there'd be like parties. I'd be like maybe not invited. And back, at that age, you're like, why is this happening? Why am I so different? And you're trying to like fit in, but like it's obviously just not working. But that was when I was quite young. Now it's as I said, it's completely chilled. But
and how do you think that's impacted you as an adult?
It's because when I was younger, I kind of did things a lot on my own. It's kind of like hardened me, I feel, as a person. A lot of, from a young age, the way I was brought up as well, I was kind of doing a lot of things on my own. So I wasn't like, like a spoiled kid. I was, had to do, work for everything. My parents, like from a really young age, I was like doing things like washing cars, trying to make money out of weird things, like I actually, when I was really young, I used to work, like do flyering on streets for clubs. I've always just found a way to do things creative things on my own and make money, and I don't need a big team of people around me to kind of support me and give me that reassurance, because I have been from a young age quite independent.
I love that you said that. I can resonate to that so much. So like I feel like we're both from the same like entrepreneur like cookie cutter. Like, so when I was like 5, I used to like charge my mum like 20 cents to give her hand massages, and I'd go and sell like my toys that I didn't want anymore out the front of my house. Like when I was 12, I used to go to thrift stores and like buy Levi jeans and sell them on eBay for like 15 times as much. And then when I was at university, I sold brownies and cookies to stoners, because I figured out there was like a really heavy weed smoking community at my university. So I'd set up like a table right next to the entrance where they used to come in after smoking their cheeky joint in the middle of the day. And so of course they walk in and there's like cookies and brownies, and like I made hundreds of pounds a week just doing that.
I love that.
And then first business like classic. So, but I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have exactly the same story. Like there's very few people that I've spoken to on this podcast that have gone, yeah, I just had this idea for a business and it worked out. Like every single one of them have gone, yeah, well I did this and I did that and that kind of failed and whatever. When you look back at that journey, do you think you were always destined?
I now do, yeah. Like I now can't imagine anything else. Like it's working for someone, or not this bad thing, but for me personally, it's just like a completely alien concept now. And again, I look at people like around me and my family. My dad was quite independent, always doing his own things. My uncle, again, he's a big inspiration as an entrepreneur. And then, when I look back at my personality traits, the fact that I'm a bit different and stuff, 100% like this is definitely the path I was meant to go in life.
It was made to be.
It was made to be. So I was made to be an ice cream man.
Well, you're matching the like. For anyone that's like watching this on YouTube, we've got ice cream t-shirt. I need one of those. You should tell me where you got it from. So let's dig into Panel Nice, because that's why we're here. We're like obviously here to get to know you more, but I'm super interested in your business. It's like blown up in the UK particularly, and also like you completely pivoted it during the pandemic and all those things. So you were 19 when you founded it. Like, first of all, why on earth did you think of ice creams in a tray? Like, where did the idea even come? Because it's a very unique concept.
Yeah, so me and my mate were travelling, after my second year of uni. We went around Thailand.
After you dropped out.
No. So I actually, you're gonna get to know this. So I hadn't dropped out at that point. It was literally the day after my last exam, the summer exam. We went to Thailand for a 2-week holiday, backpacking holiday, and we were in Koh Phi Phi, and we were basically in Koh Phi Phi. We were really quite intoxicated. And we stumbled across that there's like this, on the side of one of these streets, these small little streets, there was like this stand, and it had a massive crowd of people around it. So instantly we were like drawn to it. And when we first got there, we had no idea what this thing was. It was just, we thought it was like crepes, or we didn't understand what was going on. Like we had never seen this.
Crepes in Thailand. You're like, what is going on?
And like, but we stayed for a bit. We watched it, and then we realised, this guy's making ice cream. And then we literally looked at each other and said, like, this is, look at the crowd of people. This is so cool. Like, why is this not in the UK? And from that moment onwards, honestly, it was like we were fixated by this idea of bringing this product back to the UK. And it kind of actually started in Thailand. Like, we saw it that night. The following nights, we then kept going back to the same stand to try, like, better understand, like, how it worked, what it is. We would try to, like, take pictures of like the machine to try and understand how, because we're gonna have to find it when we get back to the UK. Try and take pictures like the mix, the stuff they pour in the pan, because all of this was like we didn't really understand what was going on. But it was by complete accident. We just found this idea, and then honestly from that moment onwards, I dropped out of university the next day. It sounds like it's so made up, but I dropped out of university. Honestly, I remember sending the email to my tutor at university on the beach. Like, I was just on the beach and I just said, so I'm not coming back. Boom, that was it. And then, it was Panel Nice from that day onwards.
No plan B?
Not really a plan B. No, not at all. I was, even if, as I said earlier, even if I didn't find Panel Nice, I really think I was going to drop out anyway. I still, to this day, don't even know what my results were for university. Like, my second year results, I never opened up the email. I knew, I just didn't really care about uni anymore. If I wasn't going to do Panel Nice, I probably would have dropped out and then probably gone and sat in my uncle's office or another entrepreneur and just started like absorbing their ways. Do something towards entrepreneurialism, because just before I went to Thailand as well, I started reading more entrepreneurial books and started really started getting into that zone of wanting to be an entrepreneur.
So you go to Thailand, you discover ice cream rolls. What happens next?
So then whilst we're there, we found ice cream rolls towards the end of our holiday. So we only had a few more days in Thailand. So whilst there though, we kind of like spent the last 2 days just basically realising. So we went to Thailand in June. We realised that obviously we'd bring this back to the UK. UK, you can't, it's hard to sell ice cream in winter. So
most of the year, let's be honest.
yeah, as we found out. So the rest of the holiday, we kind of like figured out, right, we got to get a logo. The normal things, again, we didn't know how to run a business, so we just like doing the very simple things, like we need a logo, a name. So we kind of like did some sketches and sent them to a friend of ours who was like a graphic designer, like really good at drawings. Some of the original ideas were hilarious. Like we had like a flying cow with like holding spatulas. With like a helicopter, like he had like a helicopter above his head. It was really weird. Like he's flying, so weird. We had like loads of cool ideas, and then we had to think of a name. So funnily enough, the name came from, I knew of a company called Ice Pan.
Okay.
But it didn't do the same thing. It was in America. I don't really know how I knew this company. I think I just saw it on Instagram or something. But it's called Ice Pan. It was a similar concept. They made like ice cream on a frozen surface, but like not into rolls.
Like Cold Stone.
It's similar to Cold Stone, but it was actually different. That company's now, Ice Pan's now gone. I don't know what's happened to them, but I literally just flipped the words around. I just thought I know this company called Ice Pan. I flipped the words around, pan and ice. There wasn't really much thought in it. We were so naive, which I think honestly is a really good skill trait to have when you're starting a business. Like being naive, don't think of it as a bad thing. Think of it as a really good thing, because otherwise, if you're not naive, you're going to spend so long waiting to like create the perfect idea or the perfect time to launch the idea. It will probably never happen, which is, as you will know, like the case with most people that have good ideas. And then we came back from Thailand and we found out, how to get the machine to make the product, this frozen pan. Finally, after like weeks of searching, found it in China on Alibaba, like this ice pan.
Alibaba, it's like every entrepreneur's best friend. Every business idea, I'm like, let me just go and see how much it's going to cost.
And then, found the machines, and then it was like we needed to like learn how to make the ice cream. So we basically, I come from a bit of an engineering background, practical background, so I figured out like if I get some dry ice, which is really cold ice, put it underneath a baking tray, I can kind of like replicate the process a bit. So I did that. I was still at home, so I was with my mum making ice cream. I went to go get this dry ice, put it under a baking trays, and started trying things like milk, cream, like oat milk, like loads of different things. Nothing was really working though, so I just, because I had no instruction manual, nothing to go by, so I was literally just pouring random stuff in this pan, trying to see what would roll and what would work. Eventually we came to some sort of concoction, like milk, sugar and something else, and then the pan, then like we got everything to a certain level. We bought like a little gazebo with like some branding on it. We had a very basic setup. And then the pans arrived from China. The first day before our event, first ever event, which was like a little horse show thing in the countryside. So we stayed up all that night, just learning how to make these ice creams. And the videos now, I've got the videos on my phone, and they are absolutely hilarious. Like we have no idea what to do. We're just like making an absolute mess trying to make these ice cream rolls. But we ended up, we got there in the end. Like we stayed up all night, so the following morning when we arrived at the event, we could do a couple rolls and make it look okay. I mean, I would not let anyone serve it now. But yeah, that was it really. Just kind of, and then from there on, just kept learning, making mistakes, learning, and we started really small, and then just gradually built and built and built.
There's this real kind of, what's the right word? Like I feel like in our current world of like Amazon Prime and Deliveroo and Uber and all this, everyone wants everything now, including founders of businesses. I hate using the word entrepreneur because I feel like there's a big difference between being, I think you're an entrepreneur and I think I'm an entrepreneur, but I think there's a big difference between owning a business and being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone in my mind who like is always looking for like the next thing and is like always making money. I could like, I'll look at like my wheelie bin and I'll be like, that'd be much better if I could just put like a different wheelbase on it and then I could get it around so that's how my brain's always working.
Constantly wired.
This mic stand, like I could make this better.
I can't walk into a restaurant or a Pret or a McDonald's now without like people, my girlfriend must think I'm a weirdo, like, okay, like this system is just so amazing. Like, look how quickly they're serving those people. Like, I automatically go into this mindset of like just like loving what's going on around me.
Understanding the processes
yeah,
and
like
stuff.
literally obsessed with it. Like, I can't go into any place now without just like switching on business mode and thinking this is just so cool.
I'm going to dig into that in a minute because I think that's a really, really interesting point to make. But I want to go back to, you started really small and now we are, 2021. You've got 7.3 million views on TikTok, nearly 150,000 on Instagram. Pan Nice doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So how did you get from the little stand in the horse show with the dodgy ice cream rolls to where we are now, where you're collaborating with brands like LOL Doll and etc.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's as you said earlier, it's by no means a quick process. I think when you're starting out, I was thinking, I'm going to be rich within a couple of years. It's not that easy at all. And if you think it's that easy, then you're in for a massive shock. Things will, like, you'll have spikes where things like are really exciting, but then from the last 7 years, I've realised nothing comes easy. But it's just pure determination, really, like pure focus and, like, as I said, like, not quitting when things get tough, because things do get tough a lot. They get like really tough. Like, we've had some of the, back in the early days, so we were kind of doing events, weekend at a time with our little setup, and then we kind of, once that had done well and we had a little bit of cash, we would look to do like 2 setups at the same time. So we kind of bought more pans, and then when we went to buy more pans from China, again, completely naive, didn't really understand how China worked. We bought loads more pans so we could do, increase our capacity, and they all came. And then before they arrived, that we had planned out, that we're going to do these events because we've now got 2 setups, and they all came and they were all completely broken. Like, we spent all of our cash that we had earned on these pans, and they all arrived and they didn't work. Like, you turned them on and they were basically a fire hazard. They all started like catching fire, but the components in them. So like, that was just like, that was a one example, but like, we at that point were like, oh my god, like, what are we going to do? We've booked out all these events, and at the time it was awful. It was absolutely awful, but we kept going, and that's the biggest reason I am here where I am today, is because when a failure does happen, I don't look at it as a failure anymore. I look at it as a building block. I try, like, take breaths, not get too annoyed, and just think, it's happened now. Like, if I get annoyed, what's that really going to achieve? The only thing I can do is put it in the past and move forward and learn from it. That's the number one reason I am where I am today. Like, so many people, they have amazing ideas and they do start them sometimes, but when they start them, then they get to a hard point or a roadblock and they think, no, it's not working, and they quit. And it's happened to loads of our competitors as well. We get so many people trying to do ice cream roll companies. They last for about 6 months. They realise it's not that easy. You can't just open up anywhere and you'll make loads of money. It's not the case at all, and they quit. So that's the number one thing, about the resilience and, like, working towards a goal and not letting anything stop you.
I'm 100% convinced that the difference between a successful business and a quote unquote failed business is the successful businesses just keep going.
Yeah.
And the failed businesses give up.
100%.
So where do you think that resilience, that determination and discipline, actually? Because I think people really confuse motivation with discipline. Like, everyone's like, how do you stay motivated? Because I'll be talking about some like really fucking shit thing that happened at work, and they'll be like, oh my god, how did you come back in the next day? I'm like, motivation, discipline. So where do you think you've got that discipline from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very competitive person, like sport and stuff. Extremely, like, competitive. Always wanted to be the the best, like, the winning team. So I'm kind of, I'm fighting myself really the whole time. Like, I cannot imagine, like, quitting or giving up, no matter how hard something gets. I always know inside me, like, and this is what I kind of hold on to. Like, I always know, no matter how bad things get, I know I will find a way to get through it and also to make it work. Like, and to this day, I've managed to, stick by that. And that's come from me just being a really competitive person, always wanting to do the best, push myself and, like, always achieve, beyond expectations. But it's key. And as you said, that 100%, I think the biggest reason why some businesses fail and some businesses succeed is all about how long they last and how, it's mainly about the founders, really, because they're the ones that get through those times, about how willing they are to go through those bad patches and, move forward.
The solutions.
100%. You've got to be solution driven.
my team will laugh at me because I'm always like, what's the ROI of that? Like, and I don't necessarily mean like in money, but I mean like, so
have they thought about...
is you complaining going to have a positive
ROI?
Are you like worrying about something and that's going to help the situation? If it's not going to help the situation, stop doing it. And so it's like this constant thing of like, what's the ROI on that? What's the ROI on that?
Yeah.
And they're probably all going to be giggling in a minute, but like that's always...
That's so key. I mean, I exactly the same. I don't really call it ROI, but I always now, like, when big things happen, like a lot of people think I'm going to be super stressed or something now, but I now don't get, like, I actually get really annoyed at tiny things, not big things anymore. Like,
I'm the same.
Tiny things will like really annoy me, like it's quite bad. Like
attention to detail will piss me
off.
But then like we lose the massive client for like whatever, and I'm like, like
it happens.
Like it happens.
Let's move on. Exactly, that's literally me. I'm the same. Like big things now, don't stress me out. I just take a step back. It's annoying, but like let's not get annoyed. Let's move forward. Like it happens. Shit happens in life. Move forward. But like if I'm driving and I take the wrong turn, that would annoy me.
I can totally relate to that. You said something a minute ago, which I think I've noted down because I wanted to circle back to it, about, you go into prep with McDonald's and you're like, I really like the way this is like process is working. Let's talk about some of the downsides to being an entrepreneur, because I feel like it's so glamorized. Like everyone wants to be like an entrepreneur on a beach in Thailand, like, living their best digital nomad life. Reality is it's the total fucking opposite. Yeah. You lose friends, certainly in my experience, you lose friends, your family doesn't understand what you do. And in fact, for the most part, they'll try and talk you out of it until you get to a certain level of what they perceive to be success. And they'll be like, I always knew you were going to do well.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can never switch off. Like even when I'm like at home, lying in my bed and it's like 1 o'clock at night because I've been working up until that point, I'm like, crap, I've got that thing to do. Or like, oh, what about that thing we were talking about with that client today? That's really interesting. And I have to like get up and like jot it down. And it's one of those things that you just cannot turn off. I'll be with my friends or whatever, and I'll just be talking about all this stuff and they'll just be looking at me like, what is your experience? Yeah, literally. So how have you managed that with your relationships and your friendships and your girlfriend and all those things?
So when we first started, I completely went pan and ice 100%. I lost all my friends, like my close mates, completely put them aside, and it was 100% focus on pan and ice. Nothing was getting in the way of me and pan and ice. We were working like ridiculous hours, physically and mentally, and kind of as you said, like sacrificed everything really. I definitely was not healthy at those periods of time. I'd literally we would go through summers and just doing all the different festivals and events and just not sleeping really. We'd be going from event to event to event all around the UK. I kind of like lost touch. Really, really sad. We lost touch with all my mates, and they kind of just didn't even bother contacting me then because they knew I'd be, he's busy with pan and ice. Pan and ice is more important.
Which is bad to say, but actually it is.
Yeah,
I'm the same. I've lost like a lot of people that I was very tight with, even a couple of years ago, are now not even in contact with really because they don't get what I'm trying to do, even if I spent all my time trying to, and I don't have time to kind of explain to them why.
They won't get it.
So
they don't get it. Like it's really hard for people to understand because to them they just do not understand. Like it's literally our baby. Like this is it's our life depends on it. Really, it's like that sort of emotions of the business.
And it's your purpose.
It is. Yeah, it's everything. Like I wake up like without like. I sometimes think like if I didn't have pan and ice, like what would I actually be doing? Like why would I wake up and be excited for the day? Like I literally get up every day and I'm just so excited to get to work. Like on Sundays, like where some people are like, oh, I've got work this day. I'm like, I'm
buzzing.
Like it's Monday. We're gonna get like so much, new business inquiries. Like it's my inbox to be full. Like I actually love work. Like I don't really call it work. It's like it's my life now.
It's interesting you say that because we were talking about this. So it's like we're recording this on a Monday, and I think this will come out on Monday. But this morning we were talking about there's a massive difference in our team meeting. We have a big Monday morning team meeting between having a job, which is you do that thing for money, and work, which is you do that thing for purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're both.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people they're not, and so I think there was some stat that we were talking about. That 85% of people hate their job.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
You kind of circle back a little bit to that Sunday scaries that everyone else gets. You and I are like, fucking love Mondays, can't wait to go in the next day. Where's that come from? Do you think that's purely just through focusing on what makes you happy and like your purpose, or do you think that's come over time? Or was there any time that you were in pan and ice, like you found a pan and ice up until now, I think, why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Definitely some moments like that when like cash flow gets tight, which you've had many moments like that in the past. You think,
Is it even a startup if you don't
have a cash flow problem? Yeah, exactly. Like, you think, I just remember saying to myself sometimes, like, why am I actually putting myself through this much stress? Like, you can't even explain some of the moments you experience as an entrepreneur, like, to people, like, and I don't even try to do it now. Like, it just is unbelievable, some of the stuff I still go through today, but I manage it better. But like, I used to go through as quite a young boy, where some of my mates, just leaving uni or still at uni, like, I'll be like dealing with some crazy stuff that you cannot explain to people. And like, those times I was thinking, like, why am I actually doing this? Like, this is not good for me. Like, I am knocking off years of my life by the second. But yeah, no, now, like, it's like, I can't even remember what the question was.
What's the craziest thing that you've had to deal with since
the craziest thing I've had to deal with is, look, COVID was hard. Obviously that's quite recent, like, but that I would say that's, well, actually there's more to it. So my business partner leaving, and then like kind of dealing with that, and then like only having like a month in between, and then COVID coming, that like together was like really crazy. And it was just like, yeah, I was at that point like very scared, like, would Pan and I be able to survive this? Like, would I be able to survive this and like keep going with something? Because yeah, like dealing with my business partner leaving, like I've been, the whole way from the start of Pan and I, we've been together, we've been supporting each other when shit hits the fan, we're there together to support each other. Me not having that, it's like really like quite scary. You feel like very on your own, and people always say starting a business on your own is a very lonely journey, and I've experienced that, but not like, I've always had someone with me at least. So having to deal with that, and then the whole COVID coming along was like, those two things together was like really, really scary at the time. And I thought, this could be it.
Your business partner was your best friend, who you discovered the ice cream roll thing in Thailand. You were backpacking in Thailand with.
Yeah.
So talk, how does Henry deal with my best mate, who is my co-founder, is now leaving the business? Yeah,
like it's super tough. It's just a very scary moment, because as I said, like, we had done everything together with that business. Like, it was 50-50. It was half him, half me. And like the thought of me taking it all on myself was like it was so alien to me. And I also had like people around me, and they were also worried. And when I see my brother and my mom worried, when they're saying this could be like the end of Pan and Ice, like, that to me is like, whoa, like, this is going to be very interesting. Because we always used to like support each other when things go badly for one person, the other person's there to like pick them up. That happened all the time. Like, we were always helping each other out in really bad moments, and it was so nice to have that someone to like fall back on, that knows everything that's going on in the business. You don't have to explain anything to them; they just get it. It's like really comforting. And yeah, like, to lose all that, it's just like, it's very scary, very scary.
So, business partner leaves.
Yeah.
And there's a month between that.
Yeah, about a month.
And COVID.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. So it was, he left, and then COVID started coming around. So I was still dealing with that, still trying to understand what's going to happen here. Then COVID came, and obviously my business prior to COVID was like retail. So we have the parlours where you come up and get an ice cream, and then we do events, which is where clients, private corporate clients book us out. So there are two business models. Those obviously business models, they revolve around people coming together in the physical world. So they kind of both got 100% affected very quickly, basically temporarily shut down. So that was obviously very scary. Had to get rid of pretty much my whole team. So it was just me. Renegotiating all of my contracts, literally going through, I remember we were going through the bank and just looking at, what is our biggest outgoings in the month, putting the biggest at the top down to the lowest, and just contacting every single company trying to pause payments, because we were making no money. Like, there had never been a moment in Pan and Ice where we had zero revenue, and this was like, we were at zero revenue and we had so many outgoings, because it kind of like it was over a really short period, it kind of plummeted. Event bookings were all our people that we had event bookings for, they were all calling us like, can we get our money back? There was just so much happening. It's hard to really look back at it now, because remember my mind was just completely muddled. However, though, I think in a way, though, it was a blessing in disguise. One, because the business kind of went on pause. It gave me time to think. One, and like heal with my business partner leaving, because I hadn't, I was at home, there wasn't much happening in the business, so it gave me a chance to do that and like think things through, like how am I going to move forward. And then it also gave me time to obviously adapt the business, which looking back at now has been a really massive blessing in disguise.
So you completely pivot the business during COVID. You've gone from being in store, basically, physical events, which I imagine was really scary. And to go back, you said you had to let go of like pretty much all your team. That must have been so hard.
It was horrible. It was almost, I'd never experienced doing that before. And this was before furlough came in. So kind of furlough came in later. So I've got an HR advisor, and people start, if people aren't in work, they're racking up holidays, and your business, you don't know how long COVID's going to be around, so you need to protect your business, you need to let go of these people. So I had to, it was really horrible. Luckily, everyone was understanding. I mean, everyone knew the situation. They knew we weren't, didn't have massive cash reserves just to pay everyone out through this period. So I had to let everyone go. I kept some people up until furlough, but then once furlough came as well, it was literally just me, just sat in my I moved back home for a bit, so where like I was living at a friend's house, kind of renting. But then obviously when COVID came, I didn't need to be in London. Like I just wanted to save as much cash as possible, so I moved back home, and then kind of just set up office in my old little childhood bedroom.
That must have been emotionally quite hard, because I feel like you've been building this business for all this time. It's going really well. Outsider looking in, like, he's doing an amazing job, and then boom, COVID happens. Your business partner leaves. You have to let go of your entire team. You're back at home with your mum.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It was like my whole world came crashing down. And it was like, but again, like I fell back on that thing I mentioned earlier about I always know I'll find a way, and I won't give up. So very quickly I was like, okay, this has happened. I can't really do anything about it. So let's move forward. So I actually started off by I launched panelized branding clothing. It was so I got my mate who did graphic design. I was like, look, I need to start selling clothes. So we started putting some drawings together. I just stuck them on some clothes and started selling them. I started selling phone cases, and it was just me. So I was like pushing it over social media, going, guys, look, we launched these clothes, which we sold a few. But on the whole, like, it wasn't like, I'll be selling a few t-shirts a day. It wasn't anything exciting. But then I was like, right, that's not going to work. So then it came on to the whole DIY thing, when I thought, right, how can we get pan and ice into people's homes, because they're stuck at home now? How can I get this experience, which I know people love and people miss, how can I get that into someone's home? And that's where I started, digging deeper into the whole DIY kits, the ice roll plates, and started putting a plan together. And I turned it around so quickly. I already knew of this product before COVID, and it was something, in my mind I wanted to in the future, but this kind of COVID accelerated that and brought it forward. So it was that moment. I remember I was in my bedroom, like sketching out the packaging designs, and then just dealing with people in China, getting samples sent over. But then I think I turned the whole thing around within a couple months, from literally like idea that I needed to bring it out to actually launching the product. So the way it worked was I contacted the company in China, got samples, got the packaging samples, made adjustments. Then I placed my first order, which was for 500 kits, which was quite a lot of money. It was a lot of money actually. So it's a massive risk to be down in the ditch and then decide to use all your cash reserves to buy some stuff which you don't know if it's going to do well or not. It was scary, but I did it anyway, because I thought, there's not much to lose right now.
Burn the boats.
Yeah. So I just thought, like, let's do it. Bought 500 kits, and then my goal was, right, I need to now start telling people about this and start ramping up some interest. So I, did some like pre-launch like countdowns about, guys, we're about to launch this amazing thing. It's something people have been waiting for. Sign up to this wait list. I created a wait list, and then my goal was to get like 1,000 people on that wait list. The idea that half would convert or something and hopefully sell out. I think I got the wait list to like 3,000 people, like, without actually having the product show them what it was. I just created so much hype around the product, and then I launched it. And yeah, it literally sold amazingly. Like we sold out the first 500 kits so quickly. And then straight away I was like, right, I need to ramp this up. And then, yeah, kind of just went from there.
And now it's kind of like your main line.
I'd 100% say it is. I've never done e-commerce before, and it's a hard business to do right, but it's when you get it right, it's such a nice business. You don't have to deal with like physical staff, people calling you sick and stuff. We kind of outsource everything, and all we do is really just market it. But it's the most scalable part of the business. So somewhere I'm really focusing on. We've literally just a couple of weeks ago launched them in America. So we've got kits out there now, like being stocked out there. So it's a really exciting part of the business. It's something that I see as the future of Pan and Ice, that in-home experience that we can basically provide around the whole world.
And a huge part of all of this, obviously, has been social media.
Yes.
Like you got like your TikTok account. Anyone who doesn't follow Pan and Ice on TikTok needs to go and follow Pan and Ice on TikTok. I guarantee you're going to put on about 10 kilos, like just by looking at your content.
Yeah.
So, like, where did that all even start? Because obviously we all know social media is like a really important part of anyone's business, like me more than anyone.
Yeah.
But building brand communities and brand accounts is really fucking hard.
It's really hard, especially today. It's super hard. So the way kind of Pan and Ice exploded on social media was, so when I went to Thailand the year after I founded Thailand. So I went to Thailand 2 years in a row. So the second time I went to Thailand, whilst out there, I don't know how I saw it, but I saw the TED Talk that Stephen Bartlett did. And I really resonated with it because he talks about how, he dropped out of uni and he went to Thailand. So it was like really resonating with me. So when I got back from Thailand, I basically contacted his office, Social Chain in Manchester. I was like, I put in the subject, like, I want to make you all free ice cream, come to your offices. Then I, talks about, in the main heading, I talked about, how I've got a similar journey to Stephen. I've dropped out of uni, went to Thailand, found an idea, sent them this email. And then I remember I was in Bristol at the time. We had a parlour in Bristol at that time. And then I literally sent it. And then like a couple hours later, his head of happiness, who was an amazing girl, literally called me, say, Henry, like, love your story. We've shown Stephen, he thinks it's so cool. We would love to invite you up to the Manchester office to make us all some free ice creams, and Stephen will have a chat with you as well as you've asked. So literally, then I think it was like the next couple of days, I rented a van, put like a little event set up, and drove up to Manchester to their offices. So then I get to his offices, amazing offices. I started set up my equipment, started making the ice cream for everyone. And then what happened, I did not know this at all, but they owned Love Food, which was it still is a massive Instagram account for food. And obviously they started recording me, and I was like so busy, I kind of like didn't really understand how many people they had in their office, but I was like making ice cream flat out, like, I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to talk to anyone at this rate, I've got so many people to serve. I was just making ice creams, and then my phone started going off in my pocket, like weird amounts, like, and it was people messaging me going like, Henry, like, you're going viral. I looked at my phone, like, and they're like, yeah, like, so they had posted a video of Pan and Ice and tagged us, and it was literally, I made a red velvet cupcake ice cream, and it literally went completely viral. It was like millions of views within like a few minutes, and from that one moment onwards, that kind of exploded our growth. We were getting 2,000 followers a day on Instagram, like, consistently. And like, we weren't putting out incredible content. From that moment onwards, I was literally just filming myself in my house, like making random ice creams. And it was so easy at that stage because no one had seen it. So it was like all this amazing new content and people just like resonating with it and like following us. So we were literally blowing up 2K every day. We kept going, I think, up until we got like 350,000 followers. And then obviously, look, now it's not like that. You start to realise that was quite lucky. Like, now it's really hard to gain followers on socials. You've got to be so different, so wacky, so many creative ideas, but it's also so important. So you should never overlook it, especially in like a business like ours. Like, it's everything. Like, all the brand partnerships we've done, that's all come from socials. All like the amazing influencers. Like, it's social, like, drives everything for us. It's how we do all our paid ads now, all through socials. Like, it's everything. It's so important for a business to be really present on there.
You've said a few times there, like, so lucky. Do you think luck's had a role in
for sure.
your success?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think timing of when we discovered the product was huge because no one really knew about it. As you know, like social's all about people are quite spoiled with content, so they want like to see something new and unique. So the fact we found it back then when it was so fresh, it was quite a lucky instance. And without doubt, if I started it now, it would have been social wise, so much harder to like get to where we are. Like, and in fact, I don't think we actually would be able to. So I think luck plays a huge part, and I think a lot of people in business, they don't really accept that, but luck is a huge part. Being somewhere in the right time. You know, I'm also very unlucky, which is also important to know. There's those unlucky things that happen, but luck definitely has played a huge part in getting us to where we are now.
I think it's the reason I ask that is I do think there's a lot of entrepreneurs, founders in business, and blah blah blah, that kind of stick their nose up when you say that and say, no, this isn't luck. I earned this. I created this, and like I truly believe that success and luck don't need to be kind of like hard work necessarily. Need to be mutually exclusive. Like you can work really really hard and also be lucky, but that luck doesn't take away from the fact that you work really hard.
No, I'm honest. I try to be a really honest person. Like 100%, I think we were lucky to find it at the time we did. It was like, subconscious luck, and that's why so many businesses now that tries to do pan and ice or like copy us, they pretty much don't succeed because they just the timing's all off. Timing plays such a huge role in launching a business and making it successful. It needs you need to do it at the right time. You need to do it at the time when things are on the up and it's quite unknown. It's huge.
I read something that you'd said in an article with someone that you took a lot of counsel when you first launched Pan and Ice, and you asked people for advice on that. Yeah. And a lot of the advice you got was don't do this because it's too slow. Yeah. People will get bored. You can't serve ice cream to people that's going to take 5 minutes to make. Yeah.
So I mean, we literally were getting that advice from in Thailand. I remember sitting down the day after, like talking to people about our idea, like, have you seen that ice cream thing? Like, they're like, yeah, but you can't do that. It's gonna take too long. Like, think about it. If it takes like 4 minutes to make an ice cream, like, you're not gonna be able to make enough money. Everyone was saying it to us, and people always do that. They're picking up all the possible negatives to say why it's a bad idea. We were getting it all the time. Like, there's no way that's going to work. Like, what is this? Like, people thought it was a bit of a joke. When I went back home, everyone, even my parents, I don't think really took it seriously. And again, picking up the negatives. And you always will get that. People always, weirdly, I don't know why, they prefer to like put people down and tell people why it's a bad idea, rather than say, no, that could work. That could be really good. But we just basically had to like ignore it. Luckily I did, but we basically just had to ignore it and kind of prove them wrong, and that's exactly what we did. Like, the fact it takes a few minutes to make an ice cream is actually a good thing, I think, because it creates a crowd, it creates an experience. That person's in front of you for like 3 minutes watching their own ice cream get created from start to finish. Like, that's a really special moment for that person. They can record it, put it on their socials. If you go to like a Mr. Whippy van or like just an all ice cream scoop, it's not the same. Like, it's just, there's no theatre involved in that. Like, today's all about theatre. You need to be something that's experiential that they can put on their socials and like talk about, which is exactly what Pan and Ice is.
Instagrammable.
There we go.
Well, every restaurant now you go in London,
it's gotta be.
It has to be Instagrammable, otherwise 100%. It doesn't work.
We call it catertaining.
I love that. So you get all this advice, don't do it, and you think, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Where are these people now?
Yeah, no, they're.
I mean, mum and dad, you said, obviously, are very proud of you.
Yeah, no, they're all. I mean, nobody never likes to say, "God, you proved me wrong," but I did to a lot of people. But they kind of brushed past it. But yeah, some people that I proved wrong. I think a lot of people kind of like don't like it when you get too successful. I mean, I'm not saying I'm successful, but like to them, I probably look successful. So yeah, they've kind of like disappeared. Because the reason why they don't like it is because like, in not an arrogant way, you're probably like doing better than them, like, and they're perceiving you as crap. Like, he's getting ahead of me now. There I was putting him down. He's actually completely proved me wrong. Like, who looks like the idiot now? So yeah, a lot of the people at the start that kind of didn't thought I was going to do badly, that kind of they've disappeared from my life really. You sound a little bit like me. Like, if I'm one of those people that there's a big red button on the table,
and someone says, you can't press that red button, I'll be like,
press.
Yeah, like. So I've always got a chip on my shoulder about proving. Do you think you do, and do you think that's important in business?
Yeah,
to have
as I said at the start, I'm different, so always wanting to test the boundaries, to do things different to the norm, and that is it's so important. You can't like play it safe in this industry. You really can't, because you won't get anywhere. You'll just be, there's always someone bigger and better coming up behind you. So you've got to push boundaries, do things that are new and unique, and that's been key to me moving forward. And for example, the DIY pans, being in that instance when our business is doing really badly, most people would be like, right, I need to like stop, hibernate, stop spending any money. I was like, no, I need to completely adapt, spend whatever money I have on risking us getting out of this position. And I did that. I literally risked everything. Risked absolutely everything. I think I borrowed loans from whoever I could, got all my own personal money again and put it all back into the business, and just brought all these pans. And you have to be like that in business if you want to succeed and push through these bad times.
Any regrets?
Regrets. One regret I had maybe is like, I feel like I missed out a massive part of my youth when I started Pan and Ice. Like, and it's a bit weird. I feel like, like a massive section, when all my mates were like going to festivals. I still did that, but I missed out definitely a big chunk. So maybe I regret the slight imbalance, the huge imbalance I had. Looking back on that, I wish, I'd tried to, balance my life out a bit better, because I was, I used to get exhausted all the times from work. So that's one thing, if I look back, I would change. I always urge people start their own business, try find that balance, because although you think you're invincible, it comes a time where you literally get completely burnt out. So that's one really important piece of advice I have. Make sure you give yourself time to step away from the business. Otherwise, and just sit back, try to get your mind off things, and re-energize really. Because I was awful at that. We both were. We were constantly getting burnt out, become ratty, or make crappy decisions because we were just exhausted.
What's next for Henry and for Pan and Ice?
Yeah, next. So I've got so many plans. Obviously, because now we've got this whole new part of the business. It's like kind of starting it from scratch. Like, it's a brand new audience base, brand new type of business on e-commerce. So the sky's really the limit now. I just see we've just launched in America. That I want to grow the business out there. That's a massive market. So, I don't want to give too much away, but I've got big plans for stuff out there. And then international expansion into Middle East, etc. And then one of my biggest things, I just want to build an amazing team. One thing I've learned is, I've not discussed yet, is all about the team. I know you're a big believer in that. It's like, if I want Pan to do well, I need to make sure the team's the most important thing now. It's not me. And I need to be there to support the team, but the team is what's going to really take it to the next level. So I'm all about now, bringing on the most amazing people that can do everything better than me. I've got an incredible team now. I've got my head of marketing, who's just like I can't even compete with her now, so I just kind of let her do her thing. And then just keep growing really. I have no intentions to kind of sell or anything like that. I just want to. I'm my biggest own critic, so I've got huge expectations, and when I reach those expectations, I then push the bar higher. So I'm obsessed with going bigger and better the whole time. So just keep going really. Do
you ever think you fail to stop and take a breath and look back and look how far you
can? For sure, 100%. I'm never struggle to be satisfied. I'm satisfied say if a big deal comes through or something, you're satisfied in the moment, but then straight away I'm like, right, and now I want to do that again. I get really greedy. I just want to do it again and again. And people around me going, oh God's sake, can you not just be appreciative? And I understand it's probably quite annoying sometimes, but I really struggle to be settled and be happy with what I've got.
I'm the same.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to I'm just obsessed non-stop. We just launched in America, right? Well,
where's next?
Constant.
I'm the same. I never have that moment where I'm like, God, we've done all right for the year. Team of 7 and in its 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't. Yeah, but I'm right. 20 people by next year? Where's the next one? Who are we working with next? What's the next channel we're doing? When, right, next copywriter's coming.
Yeah.
It's all, I never have.
You need to be like that though.
You have to. Because otherwise you lose. I feel when you're highly ambitious, you're just constant momentum. Like, you just have to. Otherwise, you stagnate. When you stagnate, you lose your mind a little bit. Like, I always need to be focused. I'm very goal orientated. I have to have something.
Like, I have people around me. I think it's for the founder. You need to be that one at the top, pushing and driving and pulling the business, into new areas, driving it forward. And then I have people around me that kind of put me in check. I think that's also important, because otherwise it can just become an absolute nightmare when you just someone just making decisions, saying yes to everything, and then not actually thinking, is that a sensible decision? So I have people around me that do put me in check and do say, Henry, why are you doing that? Or have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I think that's really important. But I will always be that person who's constantly looking out for new opportunities and new ways of doing things.
So you've said what's next for Pan and Ice, but what's next for you?
Next for me, I want to just really step away from the day-to-day part of the business, and as I said, bring in those teams to actually run the business, and I just want to focus on creative side. Like, I personally want to potentially move away, to another country, and then re-challenge myself and start again and do it out there, and then and just keep going. Really, me personally, I don't really have any particular objectives outside of my business.
Occupational hazard.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm actually personally trying to go for, but no, just keep
world domination.
Yeah, that's it. I just I'm not even bothered by the money personally. Like, to this day, I take a ridiculous low salary, just enough to get by. It's just constantly setting the bar, trying to reach goals. But I'm really excited for the future. Honestly, this new business model it excites me. The possibilities are endless of that. So we'll have to wait and see.
The final question I have for you, and this is the same thing I ask every single person that comes on the podcast. The actual question is 3 things you tell your 21-year-old self. But I want you to answer it as to your 19-year-old self, because that's when you found it. Pan and Ice. So what are the 3 things you would tell your 19-year-old self?
Massive one is, don't listen to people around you that give you that try to bring you down the whole time. Observe it, but don't take it on board necessarily. Keep pushing forward, because people will try to bring you down, and it's happened so many times. The other one is don't be afraid. It's kind of the same, but don't be afraid to break the mold and do things completely different. I'm a firm believer of that. Drop out of uni, don't be afraid. Don't think, don't be too scared. There's always, you just go with your gut, really. If you think you need to drop out of uni, you think you've got an amazing idea, go with it. Don't think about it too much. Third one is, God, there's so much bits of advice I'll give.
Make it more than 3 if you want.
What's the third one? Oh wow. Yeah, the whole balance is key, which I did not get right at the start. Having that balance time, because I burnt out so many times when I was growing my business. Luckily, I had a business partner to fall back on, but if it didn't, I think that could have been it. So really making sure you fit in that balance. Time outside of your business is so important, because burning out is really bad. It's bad for business, it's bad for your staff, because you can get ratty and you can start making bad decisions. So just give yourself that time to kind of get away from work and just chill out a bit. Oh, and I need to actually add the last one. The last one is team. Learn how to manage people, and then it's so hard. Learn how to manage people and then bring on amazing people, and don't be afraid about I'm paying them too much. They will add so much value, beyond you can't even imagine how much help they can support you with. So bring on an amazing team, and then support them any way they need in order for them to flourish, basically.
Henry, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
you so much for coming and chatting with me today. I can't see what's next for you and what's next for the business. I need to go and get one of those at-home kits.
You do. Make some Pan and Ice at home.
Kinder Bueno. Thank you.
Thank you.